One of the things that's incredibly frustrating for new developers or vibe coders in general is getting stuck in the error loop where something is wrong and you don't know what that thing is, and it just keeps messing with you, keeps constantly showing up, and you end up in the state where you're spending all your credits fixing errors. This sounds like you. I've got 3 tips here on the screen, and we're going to talk through them. This isn't going to be a dramatic video where I keep you waiting till the end for the gold. We're going to start right in. In the meanwhile, I'm actually going to be building the app that I set up last time. So if you want to watch that process going on too, or if you haven't seen the app that we kind of created together last time, it's going to be on the left screen here. So the first and most important tip that I can give you is to either use the checkpoints within the tool that you're using and to use Git. And if you don't know what Git is, it's a version history tool. It allows you to save your progress at specific points in time where your application is working, and then come back to it. And you can ask for your tool to use Git, and you can also do it yourself if you're a more experienced developer. So do I want any of these things? Yeah, let's do habit tracking. Social sharing sounds great. Yep, let's just do all of them. Why not? So I often think that's a mistake. I'm just doing that here for demo purposes. So continuing on. If you are using Git and you have asked your agent to create tests, then when the tests fail, you're going to be able to understand what's working and what's not working within your application. And if you're getting an error that's continuously repeating, it's usually because there is something wrong with the core functionality within your app that is not being tested for. So if you've tried probably 3 times to fix a problem and it hasn't done it successfully, you're actually entering what I consider the danger zone. And I call it that because the agent is going to try its best to fix the problem, but it might start breaking other things or coming up with really bad solutions in order to actually fix the problem. And if you're not able to read the code it's creating, or even worse, if you are reading the code and you're knowing it's going down a rabbit hole, but you're allowing it to go there because you don't know what's wrong, then you're likely to end up in a situation where things feel broken for a long time, or that first issue that gets fixed might break other things. So this is a very common problem that I see. It's something I've experienced myself a lot. But you want to make sure that you're using tests and using Git. So if you haven't started to and the app is breaking right now, the first thing I would tell you to do is ask it to write tests and have it write test cases for everything it's built. You also want to ask it to have a product roadmap. So that leads us into the second piece here, which is create a product roadmap and ask your agent to work on a different feature and come back to the current feature. And the reason is, just like with humans, if we're working on the same thing for too long and we're stuck and it's not getting anywhere, we often go to take a break. Maybe we go for a walk, take a shower, play a game, something. And the back of your mind unlocks, and all of a sudden you have the idea of how to solve the problem. And for whatever reason, I found that agents work similarly. I don't think they magically figure out how to solve the problem, but when you change the context and they start building out other parts of your application, when they come back to it, because they have a better context of how other things within the app are working, they're more likely to be able to actually fix what's going on. And I think that's a huge process improvement that most people just frankly aren't aware of and they don't take. The third piece here is to have your agent check for dependencies. And dependencies are one part of your app that might be blocked by the functionality in another part of your app. So for example, you can see in my little to-do list tracker here, this looks nice, but there's no login that's been created yet. So if I try to actually create tasks, because they're not going to be tied to a user, the task may break. And the reason is that the agent, anticipating that there will be a user, may try to tie a user object to the individual task. But because it hasn't created the actual login and the table to store users in the database, then it's not going to work properly. So that's something that likely it will be able to figure out, but it might not. And often what I've seen is that the other side of dependencies is that there are certain packages and libraries, there's other code that people have written that you can take advantage of. And these agents are really smart. They're going to pull in libraries for things like animation or for things like graphics and design. However, they may not pull in the most recent documentation for those, and they may actually kind of do things wrong. They may use the wrong methods within those frameworks, or they may create something in a way that worked a year or two ago, but because they haven't read the documentation recently, they're using it wrong. So when you have dependencies inside of your application, so not from one part of your app to another, but things that the agent has installed within your application, you actually want to go through and look at the code, and you want to see what it's installed. And you can just ask. You can say, "Hi, what packages, libraries, frameworks have you installed in order to build this application?" And then you can have it search the web. Most agents now are grounded, which means they have internet access. And you can say, "I want you to look at the most recent documentation for whatever is failing, and make sure that you're using it in the appropriate way." That's what I would say is my super take. That's the big take. And if you're able to guide it that way to the actual correct place on the internet to look for up-to-date documentation, you're very likely to find a solution, and your agent might just magically figure things out on its own. So those are my 3 tips for today. If you enjoyed this, give the video a like, please subscribe, and ask me for other things you'd like help solving and working on in this space. Because I've been an engineer for so long and I'm currently an applied AI engineer, I have a lot of experience working with these tools, and I love helping people like you out. So have a great day.